Howdy everybody, it's Andy Nolch here with another knowledge report, and this one is very interesting. It's about it's pretty much sort of about the truth about life, and it's really epic. And most of you won't believe me, and it's totally out gradient to be talking about this, I guess, like publicly, but I think it's fun. I think it's interesting, and I'm going with the whole just be totally true on everything, just 'cause, and I'm also into comedy and stuff. So I'm this sort of silly character, but because I'm a silly character, I can get away with dropping bombs of truth. Like, just imagine if I was some neat professional politician. If he made a video talking about aliens and the stuff I'm going to talk about in this video, it would really shock people. But coming from me, right, being like this comedic actor and stuff and this silly character, I can sort of get away with posting it, and saying this outrageous stuff, because I think people who get really shocked by it, they think that, oh, he's just being a troll or he's just joking. It's not true. I'm being serious. Like, I'm not trolling with this video. I'm being serious. Like, I'm going to talk about aliens. It's very out there stuff, and I'm just going to let you know what I know, because I've spent many, many years looking into this and hearing everyone's point of view and trying to find out the truth about what's going on with aliens. And I've come to a conclusion, and that's basically that aliens control humanity and have done so for many thousands of years. And I came across a lecture by L. Ron Hubbard, and it's the Between Lives Implants lecture from 1963. It's in a St. Hill Special Briefing course. And that was great, because I've heard quotes out of it, like little bits and pieces out of it, but I never listened to the whole lecture from start to finish. And it's a good lecture. Hubbard basically says that he says that he... Well, I won't go into all the details, but he says that Earth has been a dumping ground for criminals, right? But spiritual criminals, right? It's not like alien bodies from some other planet are brought here, and then, well, obviously you would be able to tell because they'll look different and stuff. But they're brought here as like spiritual prisoners, basically, because what we are souls. And I've researched it heaps and looked into it heaps, and I'm concluding that we are souls, we are spirits. We're not this body. We're in this body, but then we die and we reincarnate into another body, and you are a spirit. So how did you get here in the first place? How did life get here in the first place? How did spirits get here? Well, aliens, apparently have been sending their criminals here, because apparently we are criminals from another part of the another planet, basically. And I don't think Hubbard says that every person here is a criminal that's been banished and sent here, but obviously I think a lot has been. And so the aliens that are controlling humanity, they are like the prison guards, basically. So this whole planet Earth is their jail. So they're the prison guards. So when people say, oh, I've seen a UFO, what the hell? Or some people go, oh, I've been abducted, what the hell's going on? And they go, oh, do you see the little green men? They're the prison guards running the prison, and our life is a prison. See, what you have to understand is the fact that we are living in the most epic science fiction movie you could ever imagine. It is amazing, this life we've got, and that we are in a science fiction movie. And a lot of the time, these people, these geniuses who have been writing these science fiction books and making these, great movies like Star Wars and all that sort of stuff, those are just dudes who are into these unusual topics and have researched a lot of this sort of stuff, and it's inspired them to write fiction from it. Like, X-Files was written by a guy, like, X-Files isn't fiction, is what I'm trying to say, the X-Files TV series. Like, they know what they're talking about. It's epic. It's just amazing. Yeah, they put it into fiction, so it seems like it's like, oh well, it's just a silly Men in Black movie that's a comedy, but it's like, no, the Men in Black actually exist. They're like, I think there's something to do with the CIA, and they wear black suits, and they literally go around and stop people from exposing the truth about the aliens, which is the prison guards. Now, there are also these new agey type spiritual people who think that the aliens are really nice, and that's because they've probably come in contact with some aliens from another planet that are nice, but not the prison guards. So it's like there's two types of aliens. So David Icke talks about this. He talks about how there's like this reptilian conspiracy or whatever. I think he's sort of talking about the prison guard conspiracy. So this Between Lives Implants lecture by Hubbard's really, really interesting. Also because it talks about what happens between your lives. So you've got a life now and you'll have a life in the future. What happens when you die and you reincarnate? Because the aliens who control humanity are controlling this reincarnation cycle. So Hubbard basically says that you die and you go and you get like tons of like brainwashing, basically. Like it's advanced alien technology, but it's basically all this brainwashing, and it trains you basically to go back and like hypnotizes you to go back into a body again. So you die, you get like 69 days or something of this treatment, and then you come back as a spirit and you come to Earth and you're attracted towards going to a baby body, and then you go into a baby body and then you're born. And it sounds amazing, but there's a lot of evidence like backing this sort of stuff up. Like if you keep on really looking into it and trying to find out the truth, the more and more you're like, wow, the truth is just wild. What's going on? Like it is just epic. So because and if you don't think that mind control technology exists and this brainwashing sort of stuff exists, the CIA have it and they use it, but they don't have the super advanced alien technology. Well, they might actually. And apparently there's secret underground bases where they work with aliens. But they have a more basic form of brainwashing, which is like the pain drug hypnosis. And so they can take someone and they can have them for 3 days and torture them with this pain drug hypnosis technique. And they can make them, let's say, forget who they are. So they take someone and for 3 days they do this treatment on them because they know how to control the mind and stuff. And then after it, the person can walk out of the treatment and be like, I can't remember who I am. So, and that really does exist. And apparently people who have been assassinated like JFK and stuff, they were assassinated by mind-controlled people. So actually, hold on. No, the JFK one's different. I looked into that. But sorry, someone like... I still believe in the conspiracy of JFK, but as in, I believe that with JFK, it was, they had a dude that they just chose to blame everything on, and then they actually did the shooting. 3 other dudes did the shooting, like CIA dudes, secret dudes, and then they created some evidence to frame this other guy. So this other guy, he wasn't brainwashed or anything. He was just a sucker. He was the patsy. Feel sorry for him anyway. He copped it. But with something like John Lennon's death, because John Lennon knew about UFOs. He'd seen a UFO in New York, and he was probably finding out the truth because he's the sort of person to go, what the hell? I just saw a UFO in the sky in New York, and other people saw it as well, and he would have read all the UFO books and stuff, and he would have been like, whoa, and he was super famous. And he would have said, I'm finding out the truth about UFOs, and he probably researched it and probably opened up doors. And he might have been like, I'm going to start telling people about this, or I'm going to start exposing it, or whatever. And the CIA or whatever could have been monitoring him, and they could have said, we've got to end this guy. We've got to take him out. So what they do is they get someone and they give them the brainwashing, and then that person can get triggered. There's a movie on it called Manchurian Candidate. Check it out. And the person gets triggered, and then they become like a robot, because that's how the mind works. You can do that with people. Like, just watch a stage hypnotist. Imagine if that stage hypnotist can do in like 10 minutes. Imagine if you had someone for like a week and you gave them really hardcore brainwashing or mind control technology. Anyway, so the person gets their session of brainwashing, and then they get triggered, because there has to be like a trigger. Like, I don't know, you program it to be like an orange ball or a chicken or something. And so they trigger the person, and then John Lennon's walking in the park, and then the dude gets triggered, and then he goes into the park and he shoots and he kills John Lennon. And there's plenty of other people who have supposedly, famous people who have supposedly been killed from this type of mind control. So, we humans have this mind control technology. It exists. So what happens to all of us is that when we die, right, we basically get this mind control technology, which is erasure of memory. You totally erase your memory, and you got to go back into a body and start again. And it happens, and that's what apparently we've been stuck in for thousands of years. We've just been living here on Earth, dying and reincarnating and dying and reincarnating, and the whole sort of, I believe in a different form of Christianity, but the whole like angels and God and all that sort of thing, that's part of the implant. Because, and I'd like to, you guys know what I'm talking about, if you could comment on this in the video, this would be really important, because I want to get more information on this. So when people die, they go, oh, and this really does exist. I'm not joking. They go, oh, I see the light. And they go, oh, there's an angel and a Mary. Oh, they're coming to get me. I'm going to heaven now. And then they go off as a spirit, and they get sucked into this implant thing. Because in Scientology, an implant's like a mind implant, not like an actual physical one. But aliens do give you physical ones as well. That's a whole other story. So then they go, oh, and they go, and they usually hear really beautiful music, and they go, oh, I heard the best, I'm not kidding, they go, oh, I heard the most amazing, beautiful music, and I saw these amazing, beautiful pearly gates. Like, this is seriously, so many people report this. Lots of people have near-death experiences and stuff. And then that's it. That's the trap. They go into it, and then they get all the brainwashing and shit. Like, because the aliens are freaking smart. Like, they're not dumb. They're not going to make, like, a red sign and say, hey, come check out here, and try and get spirits to go into the red sign. They'll come up with some beautiful thing with nice music and like a force field and it's really high alien technology. They're like millions of years ahead of us, you know. So it's real clever, and it traps you in, and that's why I think some of these new agers who are like, oh no, it's so good, you get into the spirit and stuff. I think that's why some Psis are a bit concerned about those sort of people, because they can easily fall for this trap. And this is what's really interesting. If you watch the Matrix movies, this comes up in the Matrix, because Neo kind of gets sucked into, like, you know, you're living your normal day life in the Matrix, and then you start to poke out of the Matrix, and then Neo sort of gets directed towards, like, this false, like, being saved. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is the savior from the Matrix, and it's like a false one. See, how SPs are is they always trick you. So anyway, I can't really explain the whole Matrix thing, but it's a really interesting movie, because basically what it's implying is the whole resistance to the Matrix a trap in itself. So all the smart people who wake up out of the Matrix and who are good at fighters and stuff, you trap them by having them all fight in that city Zion under the ground or some shit, and you have them just distracted. Yet they're actually still in the Matrix. Now, how interesting is that? But you see how clever these aliens are? This is why I'm telling you that these SPs are just so smart. They come up with a trap, and then they come up with a false way of getting out of the trap, right? So that it tricks all these people, and they think they're doing good, and they're not. It's amazing. So yes, that's sort of the brainwashing thing. And so check out Between Lives Implant lecture and listen to it, because there's a lot of people who are backing up the information that Hubbard's saying in this. And it's just fascinating. But here's the article called The Future of Earth by an independent Scientologist that I read that really inspired me to make this video and to talk about these topics, because it's a really great article, and I'm going to put the link to it in the comments section. But you could probably just Google, like, independent Scientology and The Future of Earth, and it's just a great article, and I'm going to read it out now, because it's basically laying down the truth of Earth. And yeah, it's amazing. But I mean, if you look at it right, if you really look at, for example, I know I talk about vaccines a lot, but if you just look at just that one topic, to think how evil that is, to come up with this thing, right? Well, sorry, the vaccines that work might already exist, but then to come up with a thing to say, well, let's make them have more vaccines. Let's put bad stuff in the vaccines that causes them mental problems and gives them cancer and like ruins their immune system. Like, it's so evil to do that and then try and make money off it. And then if anyone tries to expose the side effects of vaccines, they just get shut down, and will trick all the doctors into thinking that they're doing good by giving everyone vaccines, right? This is how evil people work. So they did that with vaccines, and it got accepted widestream. Everyone was pumping everyone full of vaccines. You know, anyone who was trying to say, you know, wake up to what's going on with vaccines is like, oh, you're kooky, blah, 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 blah. It's so epic. But they got away with it. You know what I mean? And like it's getting exposed now, and less and less people are starting to take vaccines. That's why they're introducing these vaccine laws. But if you just look at that in itself, the vaccine issue, how epic that is, how unbelievable that is. That's bizarro world. That's science fiction shit right there, right? If that's possible, and for them to get away with that, it makes sense that a much bigger thing is possible as well. That's what I think. It's also if stage hypnotism, where those people do those tricks and they make someone bark like a chicken, if that's possible, which it is possible, I know it's possible, then the reason why I was so shocked when I found out the stage hypnotism was actually possible, right, was because my mind was going, whoa, if that's possible, let's change my whole sense of reality. That means that, yeah, someone could... Like, I didn't instantly think the government could come up with brainwashing technology, but I just thought, whoa, hold on. That changes my whole idea of how the mind works and just what's possible in life. And it's turned out, yeah, of course, that stage hypnotism is possible. So then all this epic other stuff is possible as well, like memory wiping between lives and all this sort of stuff. Because it's just a more advanced version of it. It's just so amazing. And right now, there's something called the Morgellons disease, right? Or Morgellons disease. This is, again, shit that's just so unbelievable. That's just wild, but it's actually happening. People are growing synthetic fibers in their body. So they're getting this, they got some disease or whatever where suddenly, like, fibers will actually start coming out, and they'll pull it out, and it'll be like a clear bit of glass. And it'll be like, what the hell? Their body's growing glass. It's so unbelievable, right? And it's ruining people's lives. And some people are wanting to commit suicide and stuff. And when they go to their GP, their bought and paid for big pharma doctor who's just brainwashed and a fucking loser. I'm sick of these fucking cunts. Like, seriously, big pharma and doctors are so responsible here for what's going on in the world. These stupid freaking nerds that don't think for themselves, that just go to their high school and then go to their university and get brainwashed, and all they do is learn not to think for themselves, and they're too cowardly to stand up and actually think for themselves and go, hey, maybe vaccines aren't good. Hey, maybe this person actually is growing fibers out of their body. These idiots are getting sold on the lie that these people have mental illness. So the guy's going, look, I've got these fibers growing on my body. What the hell's going on with me? I've got this Morgellons disease that they're talking about on the internet. What the hell's going on? And the doctors are saying, yes, yes, it's all in your head. They're literally saying that. They're saying it's all in your head, but they're not saying those actual words. They're saying you've got blah, blah, blah syndrome, which is just means like you got delusion syndrome, which basically says you're just making the shit up. Like, because they don't have the guts to say to your face, you're just making shit up. They come up with some technical term like, you're suffering from a psychiatric disease. It's called blah, 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 blah delusion. And it's just like their fancy way of saying you're talking shit, right? But they're not. It's unbelievable. And just check out Morgellons disease. It's unbelievable. Apparently, it's starting because of chemtrails. This video, by the way, this video is epic, but it's fucking true. I gotta swear in this one, it's just wild. So chemtrails, right? Apparently, and David Icke says this, and other people are saying it as well. Chemtrails are spraying some shit in the air, which somehow comes down and lands on people's bodies and starts growing stuff. And not only in human bodies, in plants. They're growing these synthetic fibers. And here's the kicker. When I say synthetic fibers, I don't mean like synthetic clothes like a football jersey or whatever. I don't know what Yankees say. But Yankees watch these videos the most, so anyway. It's not made of that synthetic crap that you get at like Big W, right? It's made of a substance that's not even on this earth. That's how epic it is. You don't even know what it is. The scientists don't even know what it is. So these people with the Morgellons disease are pulling out these synthetic fibers and going, what the hell's wrong with me? I'm like, got these rashes where these fibers are coming out of me. Take it and what the hell is this substance? And they're looking at it and they're going, there's nothing on earth that is this substance, right? And of course, the conspiracy theorists and the alien researchers, I don't know how, they're starting to connect it with it being off-planet, being from these prison guards I'm talking about, these aliens, these greys. And I think some of them are green as well, but I think most of them are greys. It's just unbelievable. Look into Morgellons disease, and the doctors are literally trying to pass it off and say, yeah, it's a mental illness thing, and the person's just got an itchy problem, and their mental illness is making them want to itch, but then it doesn't explain for the substance that's coming out, and it doesn't explain for the fact that they had no mental illness their whole life, and then suddenly they've got this itchy mental illness, and they're like, oh, I've got to itch myself. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's a new disease. And it's caused by these chemtrails, and you got to ask, like, what the hell is in these chemtrails and stuff? And it's just amazing, right? So it's just epic what's going on as well. So anyway, I want to read this article because it's just great. So it says the future of Earth. This discussion paper looks at what is actually happening on this planet and what the future may or may not hold. By the way, I'll just quickly say something. Okay. Ron Zorg and Captain Bill has some good information about aliens as well. And it seems to be that this recent trend of these chemtrails and just all the attacks on humanity, like that everyone's waking up to now because of the internet, they're coming from the New World Order. And guess what the New World Order is? It's the alien takeover of the planet, right? But here's the thing. You're going to say, Andy, these prison guards are the prison guards. They already own the planet. No. Here's the thing. They want to make the planet one of their own planets. So they don't want it to be a prison anymore. And this is part of the huge transition that's going on. So it's not like they... you know what I mean? Like basically I'm saying for thousands of years they've just been dumping their criminals here and just monitoring it. And they've just been, like with their secret underground bases and their brainwashing thingos, apparently one of them's on the moon that sucks people in, the beam or whatever. And I think one might be on Mars or Venus or something. And so... So with the whole New World Order thing that's really started to kick in, like the CIA got formed and things started to get really more corrupt. Like in 1947, it sort of started all around World War II, and people, like the amount of UFOs seen really started increasing. And people started talking a lot more about being abducted. It's part of then preparing the groundwork, because it takes 100 years to like take over a planet, sort of. So them starting to change it from being a prison to actually being one of their own planets, because they've got their own, this group of aliens have their own group of planets, like their own confederation or something. These evil pricks, right? And it's not that they're particularly evil, it's just that they think like a hive mind, and they're sort of communist in the way they think, as in they don't respect people's individual rights. Like, they think that it's all about the collective, you know, and that's why I hate communism and all these left-wingers and stuff as a government, because it's just a terrible way to govern, because they have this idea that it's okay to take someone else's money and give it to someone else, because they think that it's good to come together as a group and, like, do everything together and have, like, government healthcare and have everything controlled and give people dangerous vaccines, but it's okay because, you know, your kid might get hurt, but then it saves plenty of other kids. You know what I mean? Like, as in, they have the argument that, like, the ones who don't know that vaccines are actually designed to harm people, they think, oh, yes, 1 in 10,000 kids will get harmed badly by this vaccine, but we'll save heaps more people from the disease. So it's for the greater good that you get vaccinated. But how would you feel if that was your kid that got harmed by the vaccine? You know what I mean? I don't know about you, but I wouldn't take the vaccine. I would say, you know what, I might not get this disease, so I'd rather take the risk of not getting the disease as opposed to getting harmed by your vaccine. You know what I mean? Like, it's this whole greater good thing that they have, this whole hive mind thing. It's all about individuals don't have rights. This whole communism thing, you come together, and it's all for the greater good. It's like 1984. Basically, what I'm saying is these aliens that have their confederation that want to make our planet as a part of their confederation, right? They are like 1984, basically, like where it's all about Big Brother. You know what I mean? It's all about the government, and if you're an individual and disagree, you're just out of the system. You're dead, or you're getting a huge round of brainwashing because you're not part of the system. And that's why when people who get abducted, they talk about when they communicate and meet these grey aliens or whatever, they talk about how they seem like they're robots, or they seem like they're a hive mind, and they just work and stuff, because they literally, for thousands of years, their race has been like this, and they've become more and more like robots and more like Big Brother 1984, where they just go to work every day and they do what they're told and stuff. And that's why communism is just the worst thing ever. Now, I just want to mention something, because I know this video is talking about really crazy out there stuff. Firstly, when I say vaccines are bad for you and big pharma drugs are bad for you and that 9/11's a conspiracy, that is like I'm really certain about. But this alien stuff I'm talking about, I'm not as certain about this stuff. So don't think that I think 100% that, that they have 8 planets or whatever and they want to make us as one of their planets. This is my guess. This is my educated guess after looking at heaps of information on this topic. But when I talk about vaccines, that's something else, because that's something I can actually go and investigate and look with my own eyes and actually speak to people. And that's something I'm very certain about, because I know for sure. So this crazy alien shit, I haven't seen an alien in person. I've sort of seen a UFO, right? But I'm not saying this is definitely the truth, basically, okay? I'm just saying that there's all this evidence indicating this is what's going on. I've spent years reviewing all this information, all like the UFO books, the spiritual information, Scientology stuff, Hubbard stuff, and tried to come to a conclusion on what the hell's going on in the world, because I find it fascinating. The truth is just amazing. And this is what I think's happening. But when I talk about antidepressants not working and being bullshit and being bad for you, I actually know that for sure. You know what I mean? They're easy things to see. And stuff like methadone that Big Pharma has got heroin addicts taking, right? And getting the government to encourage people to take methadone, right? Methadone's worse than heroin. So the Big Pharma's managed to say, hey, you're addicted to the street drug? Well, how about you get addicted to our drug? We'll tell you it's better for you and it will help you not become a drug addict, which it won't. It will actually harm you more, and we'll make heaps of money from it, and come take our methadone. And we're going to get the government to prescribe it, and we're going to get the whole government thinking that methadone's a good thing for people to take. That's what's going on. That's the truth. So that's like, I don't know, how can I say it? I'm like 90% sure that that's the truth, but when I talk about this whole alien thing and anything to do with aliens, right, I'm like 60% sure. You know what I mean? It's just, this is what the evidence is indicating, So don't think it's like, whoa, Andy Nolch thinks this like wild theory that New World Order are actually communist aliens. Well, I mean, I do think that, but it's just like, don't think I actually like 100% believe that. I'm just saying, you know what? This is what all the evidence of all the researchers are saying and indicating after reviewing it all, This is what they're saying, I got to read this article actually, but just before it, I'll just mention, because I'm still on this alien topic, check out David Jacobs, check out Stephen Greer, check out Art Bell interviews about aliens, check out David Icke stuff, check out John Lear stuff. They talk about, all the people getting abducted, and have been researching it for years, and how there's like in Area 51 and these underground secret alien bases. It's wild, but it seems like, yeah, there is, because you have to understand, like SPs and stuff and 1-1s, they act shifty. They don't openly come out and be honest. That's why Hitler got shut down. It was stupid what he did, because he was direct and he was honest. He was anger toned and was just like, we're taking over the world and that's it. And everyone just came and took him out. So how do you take over the world? You don't do it direct and honestly. You do everything shifty and sneaky. That's how you do it. That's how the Church of Scientology got taken over, by people infiltrating it, being sneaky and rising up. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't do things out in the open because you get busted for stuff. So this whole New World Order and us becoming part of the this other what's it called? These communist aliens, basically. It's going to be sneaky, and there's all these little sneaky things that are going to go on, like chemtrails and vaccines and getting everyone on psych drugs and like releasing like just all these weird changes and all this sorts of stuff and control on humanity. So that then when the day comes that they finally make it known that we have made contact with aliens and that they actually exist and that we're going to join their union, right? People are going to be able to go along with a lot more, and they're not going to be like, screw these aliens, we don't like these aliens. You know what I mean? It'll basically, by the time it gets announced that we're going to join them, we already would have been taken over. You know what I mean? So it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating what's going on. So this is the article. I'll just read it out. The lay of the land. Finally, I found out what this planet is and why life is so loopy, mixed up, confusing. I know this, that on this planet there's a great deal of dumping that has gone on, stuff from the nearby galaxy. Not this galaxy, but I know they take next galaxy over and so forth. I know they take political prisoners and guys who they don't want around, but it's less personal than you'd think. They just have excess population, you see. They've got a revolt on, or you're on the wrong side of a war, or something like that. And they pick you up in droves, crowds of people, and ice cube you, and throw you into a sea someplace. I know this planet has been subject to that, and several planets in this immediate end of the galaxy have been subjected to that. That I know. From the Between Lives implants on the 23rd July 1983. That was L. Ron Hubbard. See how wild that sounds? See how totally out there and crazy that sounds? But it's just like, no. The alien researchers, UFO researchers, back up what Hubbard said in 1963. You know? And in looking into all, like, heaps of stuff that Hubbard's done and said, rarely is he wrong about something. Honestly, rarely is he wrong. And so, because I know people will be listening to this who don't know anything about aliens and be going, what the fuck? Like, this is just wild, that quote. That quote is just wild, right? But the truth is stranger than fiction. And just look at North Korea. Just look at the vaccine thing. It's just unbelievable, and just time and time again gets proven correct. It's wild, right? Just to let you know, in case you're not a Scientologist and you hear about Scientology and aliens, there really isn't that much information in Scientology about aliens, to be honest. It's just a lot of spiritual technology, and then occasionally Hubbard does a lecture where he drops these bombs of information about what's going on in the world and aliens and stuff. He wasn't that interested in it. He was just interested in improving people's lives, you know? And then he would mention a bit of stuff that he'd found out about the world and stuff. Because if you think about it, from your point of view, regardless if you believe any of this alien shit I'm saying, it's really good for you to improve your life and stop eating junk food and stop taking those big pharma drugs and all that crap and start doing some good therapy and good spiritual stuff. That's really good for you to do. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it's all you can do, because you won't believe anything I'm saying in this video. I'm struggling to even believe what I'm talking about in this video. But it seems to really be what's going on, you know? Anyway, so Earth has been used as a dumping ground rather as Australia was many years ago. Yes, it's really interesting. See, when native Indians first came across Europeans, right, they would have been like, whoa, what the hell? Whoa, it would have been mind-blowing for them. Did you see that, like, that ship they had? Like, whoa, like, it would have been like us seeing aliens, like, whoa, can you believe that? And the skeptics would have been like, there's no white man, what are you talking about? This is just, this is a white man, there's no white man, that's a joke, you know what I mean? Like, literally. But it's possible, and, so Australia was found, imagine, instead of, there was Europe and then there was Australia, right? And Australia was used to send convicts to, right? So imagine there is Earth and then there's other planets. And we just haven't developed yet the technology to travel to those other planets. So then one day we do and we find another planet and it's like, whoa, it would be the same as like finding Australia. It's like, whoa, there's like these funny looking people here and stuff. They like have like these bouncing animals and stuff and like these didgeridoo sticks and shit. It's the same thing, basically, so it shouldn't be aliens and other planets shouldn't be such a shock to you. And what did they do with Australia? They used it, the English used it to send criminals here, and they set it up at the start with criminal, jails, basically, a bunch of jails, and then that sort of stopped, and then it just grew and become like a shitty version of America, but a lot safer and healthier and shit, but not as exciting as America. But so it happened on Earth. So this is just the same thing. So these other aliens found another planet and were like, hey, it's pretty empty, it's far away, let's just send our prisoners there. And it's just, anyway, it's not that unusual. The purpose was to dump excess population from the surrounding areas onto this planet and suppress them so thoroughly they suffer a drop in tone scale and awareness of who and what they are. The idea being to make thoroughly sure they do not return by making them more pliant and easier to manage, and thus ensuring they do not escape. Yes! Sorry. I know I mentioned the whole reincarnation side, but I didn't really lay it in. Why do you think it is that they brainwash you so heavily and wipe your memory so heavily when you pass away? It's so you come back and you stay on Earth, and you live and you die and you stay on Earth. And anyone who's getting too smart, like L. Ron Hubbard, or any freedom fighters, right, who are switching on to what's going on, they get suppressed. Carl Sagan was catching on to what was going on with aliens and stuff and UFOs, and of course he got told to shut up and had his like life threatened and shit. So he's going to shut up. You know what I mean? Like, you have your life threatened. But this is why the SPs on Earth don't want cults starting up, like spiritual groups, or like good religions, or like really good things, because they don't want people getting woken up to the truth. They're absolutely happy if you start a football team. They're absolutely happy if you make like a cool video game and you want to make a really big video game company. That's fine. That keeps people in the trap. But if you come up with something that starts really waking people up to the truth, then they'll come after you and they'll shut you down. They don't want you setting people free. That's the whole point of this planet Earth. It's a prison, right? Anyway, so Anyway, sorry. Do you know I was talking about the chemtrails and all this sorts of stuff and these advanced technologies because we're going to become one of their planets? They're making our planet, what I'm saying, they're making our civilization like what their civilization is like. Like, if we went and visited one of their planets, there'll be people that are very robotic, that are like born and programmed to do a certain job and like a hive mind thing, and there would be like the whole control society, like 1984, but like obviously more futuristic. And that's what their planets are like. So we're seeing this like bleed-in of stuff, intentionally, bleed-in of stuff coming into our planet that's their technology and all their crap. You know what I mean? It's really interesting. Okay, so what do you do when you have an overpopulation problem and you cannot effectively kill or erase an indestructible being? So you can't erase a spiritual being. You shoot someone then the spirit's still there. You can't get rid of the spirit. So how do they get rid of the spirit from an area? They do this whole brainwashing technique because they want to get rid. But that's kind of interesting, actually. I've thought about that a lot. And I don't have an answer to the question. Why do they put us in bodies as opposed to just leaving us as a spirit on earth? And I think it's because if you're on earth as a spirit, you're not weighed down. You're not tied down. It's like a ball and chain, a prisoner with a ball and chain. So we are the prisoner, right? Spirit, which is like apparently here or whatever. We're the spirit here, and the ball and chain keeping us in the prison is the actual body. So it keeps you tied down with gravity because you're, as a spirit, you've been brainwashed to be stuck in this body, right? You're tied as a spirit to the body, the ball and chain, and then you're stuck in this earth as a prisoner. So if they had the prison just full of spirits, they're much more likely to go, hey, I can just float over to the moon or some shit and get out of this. Like apparently they have some sort of technology that's like force fields and stuff. But I don't think that's totally effective. Like I imagine someone like Jesus could have just dropped the body and then just gone, I'm going to Venus and walk off. The same as Owen Hubbard, they could just go, I'm going to Venus and just shoot off to Venus, you know what I mean? And so the body is the ball and chain and it weighs you down. And see, this is the thing about Scientology. It helps people get out of their body and it teaches people how to be spiritual, right? So of course the church is going to have to be shut down. Of course it's going to have to be corrupted. Of course it's going to have to be given a really dirty name. Because they don't want the prisoners getting out of the jail cell. You know what I mean? It makes sense. Okay, so you route them off to an area away from the region and reduce them to a point where they are unable to return. So we're unable to return from where we were actually originally from, whatever planet that is. Who do you choose to root off, or whatever? Well, those that cause trouble of one sort or another, the nonconformists, the recalcitrants, anyone who does not toe the line, and anyone surplus to the needs of the society in the viewpoint of the suppressor. See? So these, like, 1984 type communist aliens, right? They've got their planets and their civilization, right? And we could be the prisoners of that civilization because we were too rebellious. We were too freedom-loving. And they wanted to put in security cameras everywhere. They wanted to put in microchips in people's heads that controls the way they think. And they wanted to change people's DNA and make them all into robots, basically, and have the hive mind thing. And, for example, me, I could have been living on one of the other planets, right? And I could have been like, hey, screw these guys. What the hell's going on? Making, like, whatever the YouTube equivalent is, YouTube videos, whatever they've got, right? You're going, hey, this is bullshit. We're not going to put up with that. So then they go, here's a rebel. We're going to take him, brainwash him, and throw him in this prison, right? And because he's disturbing our perfect little society. So that's who we could be. We could be the rebels from these other societies. And that's sort of what Hubbard's saying. It's really interesting. It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, anyway. Anyone who does not toe the line, and anyone surplus to the needs of the society in the viewpoint of the suppressor. A few billion beings reduced to a not-know state, and planet bound to Earth. See, it's really good. So when you might wipe someone's memory, they don't even know they've been put into a prison. You don't tell them they've been put into a prison, so they don't try and get out of it. They just go to work. And then if you were told and they were in a prison, then they'll go, hey, where the hell was I from? And they'll try and find out. Then they'll be like, I want to try and get exterior, and I want to try and do astral walking, get out of my body and go back to where I'm from and shit. You know what I mean? You don't tell them they're in a prison, and you deny that they're in a prison. It's a very good way of tricking someone. That's how many people have remained on this earth for many lifetimes, because what have they been doing? They've been drinking beer and watching football, as opposed to like trying to get free out of this trap or trying to find out the truth about the world. They just get distracted by silly little things. And that's why these SPs, they love people like watching like silly things and all these sorts of stuff, and like being obsessed with fashion and being obsessed with sport, because it just keeps the person in the trap. Like, you can do self-help all you want, as long as it's like running in a gym on a treadmill, they will love that. That's why there's gyms everywhere. They love it and they promote it and they want, yeah, absolutely, get healthy, because sport does give you a level of healthiness, right? It is kind of good, but there's much more better things you can do besides running on a treadmill. But they just want you to run on a treadmill and think that that's healthy. They go, yeah, eat your apples, take your protein shake and run on the gym. That's it. You go there, boy. You keep on doing that. You're never going to get out of this trap. You're never going to wake up to the truth. He's starting to study history. Oh no. What? He's finding out about like out-of-body experiences? Oh, you know what I mean? Like, they don't like any of that stuff. They're like, suppress that. You know what I mean? But they're like, anyway, it's such a trap. Okay, so a few billion beings reduced to a not-known state and planet-bound to Earth. As a consequence, the beings on this planet have been in a continual state of unawareness and or unconsciousness regarding their true nature and beingness. Now, the amount of duress, force, this is L. Ron Hubbard now. Now, the amount of duress, force, necessary to produce a continuous degraded state can be measured thereby. Look at the hard work to keep people aberrated. If you were left alone for a while, you'd snap out of it. So that's exactly the thing. If we didn't have these SPs, right, if you just left us alone, people start to become more and more happy and positive, and they start asking questions about spiritual stuff and history, and they start educating themselves and becoming more and more healthy. And they find out about the trap, or they find out what's going on, or they get more free. Right? People don't just naturally drink beer and watch football all the time and do unhealthy things. Right? That's been created by the SPs. That's been encouraged by the SPs. They've had to work hard suppressing information about man's history on Earth, suppressing good science, suppressing high technology like UFO technology and all that sort of stuff. Like they suppress and keep it all hidden. They work at it. Like NASA, for example, NASA's just a con job. It's there to pretend like they're making an effort to go into outer space, but they're never really doing anything to actually go to outer space. Like, they're not really actually doing anything. Like, they're making really slow progress. And so all the people who are like, I love space and I would love to be an astronaut, I love to be doing the science of NASA, they go and they start working for NASA. Then after 30 years, they realize, you know what, we're really not making as much progress as what I thought. Like, is this whole thing just a trick to try and keep us busy? Like, we're digging holes and someone else is filling them up? You know what I mean? Really interesting. But NASA, for example, right, their whole goal is to keep people busy who are interested in this topic of outer space. But at the same time, when they do release information about outer space, they don't tell you about the pyramids on Mars, which have been seen. They don't tell you about the Sphinx on Mars or whatever, or the giant obelisk on like one of the moons of Mars or whatever, or like the unusual objects on the moon or the other side of the moon. What they do is they go, oh yeah, you know, we took some photos of Mars, and yeah, we didn't see any life or anything unusual, and yeah, we took some photos of the moon, and yeah, there's not really any life out here, there's nothing out here, and oh, was it so hard? It was so hard getting out to the moon. Like, we really struggled, and it was really, really difficult, and human life can't live here. It's really hard to live here, and oh, it's so hard. And basically, they're just trying to get you to get not interested in outer space, and they tell you lies about Venus, and they go, oh, Venus is just like this ball of gas, or it's too hot, or whatever. You can't go to Venus, like, when that's just a lie. Like, it's all designed just to keep it all secret from you. So, I'll keep on reading. Where the hell was I? Okay, so this isn't Hubbard anymore. This is the guy who wrote the article. Fortunately, you cannot keep a good Satan down forever. Eventually, he will start to regain some awareness and abilities. This explains the increase of awareness over the past few thousand years of people starting to question the existing state and the awareness that man is not an animal but a spiritual being. It also explains some of the outstanding people through the years who have risen and worked to return man's awareness of whom and what he is. This awareness peaked with the research and discoveries of L. Ron Hubbard and the rise of Scientology about the actual truth of man's beingness and the actual structure of the universe made plain. Not only that, but his introduction of a methodological way of sidestepping the implant, enabling beings to regain their self-awareness and natural inherent abilities, must have sent alarm bells ringing in the minds of those keen to ensure this planet stays as it was intended. A prison planet designed to hold dumbed-down beings and keep them from emerging out into the universe again. Okay, yes, that's the thing. See, this is what Scientology is. This is what Hubbard didn't really care so much about people's abduction experiences or what the flying saucers look like or UFOs and that sort of stuff, like what the other UFO researchers are really interested in. What Hubbard was interested in is making a person not stuck in their body and more powerful as a spirit so they don't get sucked into these implant things when they pass away at death. You know what I mean? So Hubbard's going from a more smarter point of view, because he's saying, you can listen to all the flying saucer lectures you want, and people talking about being abducted by green men, but it's much more important to do this Scientology technology and stuff so that when you pass away, you don't get sucked into their brainwashing thing. And if you do get brainwashed through their system, you're a lot more powerful, so you might still retain some memories. You know what I mean? And you might not go into that body. It might not be as effective. So that's what Hubbard was really interested in. And I spoke to a Scientologist once who told me that he went into he had like an anesthetic in a hospital, like where they put you to sleep basically, and he didn't fully fall asleep. And he'd done a lot of Scientology, see? So as a spirit, he's still powerful and able to stay awake and perceive things in the hospital room. Whereas when I got it done, like 10 years ago, because I had some teeth removed or whatever, I had the anesthetic and I just was knocked out and that was it. And I woke up and I couldn't remember anything from the surgery at all. Whereas this dude could sort of perceive stuff and stay awake because he was more powerful spiritually. And also he said that he checked with the doctor about something that happened during the procedure, and the doctor confirmed his memories. So he's not just making it up, because I know that the stupid skeptics will be like, that guy just thinks that he remembers some of the surgery while he was knocked out. That's just bullshit. But he actually checked something with the doctors, and it was apparently one of the doctors had a persistent cough, which is kind of weird to be in a surgery room with some sort of cough. I don't know what it was. Obviously, it wasn't infectious, otherwise it wouldn't have been there. Had some sort of cough. And so that's what this guy perceived and remembered, this coughing. So he asked the doctor at the end, he was like, hey, was there someone in that operating room that was coughing a lot? And the guy was like, yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. See, there's evidence for what I'm talking about, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like evidence like as in you boil water at 100 degrees and I can do a scientific experiment and go, look, water boils at 100 degrees and prove it with like the thermometer right here in front of the camera. You know what I mean? They're like anecdotal evidence, but it's good evidence. It's like imagine you had your car stolen, you had all these people come up to you and there was security camera footage of it. Maybe security camera footage is too much evidence, but there was all these people and there was all this evidence indicating that it was your neighbor who did it. Are you going to say, no, my neighbor didn't do it, I don't have the scientific evidence of my neighbor? You're obviously going to start thinking, hey, maybe it was my neighbor who stole the car, like all this evidence indicating it. So all this stuff I'm talking about aliens, all this unusual stuff and conspiracies, it's like there's a lot of evidence indicating this. You know what I mean? I'm not just talking shit. I've remained quiet for years before I started opening up my gob because I don't like to talk about things I don't actually know about and don't research. I don't think it's right. That's why these news people, all of these dumbed down news people and people on the panel and like those shows, The View and stuff, they talk about things that they have no idea what they're talking about. They've just watched a little thing and they've heard a little thing and then they're commenting on it. That's rude. Do you know what I would do if I was sitting there and they were talking about like baby diapers and I didn't know? I'd probably say, I don't know, and not say it. I wouldn't say, well, Scientology is this, or NASA is this, or left wing is this. When they're talking about stuff they don't even know what they mean. It's just ridiculous. It's wrong. It's just blatantly wrong. And being a Scientologist is really good because you get to see this, because you see people like the guy off the Young Turks, like Cenk Uygur, whatever his name is. And they'll do an art interview, they'll do a news report on Scientology. And I'm sitting there as a Scientologist, and I've interviewed heaps of people, and I've read heaps of Scientology, so I know what the hell I'm talking about. I was involved with the church for years and stuff. And I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, listening to Cenk talk, and I'll just be like, Cenk doesn't know what he's talking about. He's obviously just like Googled a few things on Scientology, and he just opened up his blob and talking about it. And that's influencing all the people who are listening. It's influencing their opinion on Scientology. And it's like, he's just talking shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. That's why he's such an idiot. That's why he didn't like Trump and all this sort of stuff, and he wanted to get Hillary in and all that sort of stuff, because he's an idiot. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. That's why I'm not concerned about his ideas of politics, because I see what he does with Scientology, and he just opens up his mouth and talks about things he doesn't know about. I don't do that. All this stuff I'm talking about in these videos, it's stuff I know about. The stuff that I've really looked into, and there's a lot of evidence for, Anyway, so this brings us to present time and what is happening right now. Situations, this is Hubbard now, situations have to be maintained in a bad state. They don't naturally exist in a bad state. The very fact that this is a prison planet, that it is being monitored this carefully right this minute, gives you an understanding of what's happening. It is being monitored, and people are all seeing UFOs. I know a guy who, as a kid, him and someone else were out in the field or some shit, and they full-blown saw a UFO. What the hell are these UFOs? Who are in them, And there is a theory that it could be advanced technology by aliens. By our governments. It could be something that our government's invented that's advanced technology. But that wouldn't explain for the fact that all this stuff about aliens and people saying they've been abducted and all this sort of stuff. But everyone's turning a blind eye to it. Like, there was a guy who my parents sort of used to work with, and he claims that he was a UFO abductee, and he'd written some books on it. And I haven't got a chance to read his books, but he worked with him at like a post shop. And people ignore these sorts of things, and I'm just thinking, like, what the hell's going on, man? This was like a normal person just literally claiming they've been abducted. And I've spoken to a dude who said to me he's seen like UFOs and been abducted, because he's one of these abductee people, because it happens to him regularly. It doesn't happen really as a once-off. It's like usually a certain type of person. I don't know, everyone's just like turning a blind eye. It's just like, whoa! It's like the Morgellons disease thing, where the doctors are just like, whoa, this is too much for me to handle. Like, what the hell, a substance that we don't even know what it is? This is too much. I'm just going to say it's a mental illness. That's what everyone's doing. They're saying, whoa, this is just too much. I'm just going to ignore the aliens and UFO thing. I'm going to ignore, like, that unusual thing that I heard. Whoa, I'm going to ignore that psychics are reading minds. Whoa, I'm going to ignore that, like, people are, like, leaving their body. And, like, whoa, I'm going to ignore, like... They're just, like, it's just too much for people to handle. And they're just like, hey, I just want to watch football and drink beer, basically. And that's the truth. And that's why I think the SPs who control us, they want life to be hard and for people to be poor and things to be tough, because it stops people from being smarter and from being successful and spiritually advancing. Because they're weighed down, they're tied down in their shit in their life. And this is why scientists are able to find out more about these sort of topics, because they're not mired down, tied down in all their crap with like family members and like issues with this and some health problem. They're not like in all that crap, and they're actually got some spare time to actually look into other things and start working out what's going on. But they want you to be worn out, and they want you to spend your free time just sitting there watching football and drinking beer. That's what they want you to do. They want you to be so worn out, so you're just like, oh, gosh, life is hard. I don't want to hear anything about some UFO abduction story. I just want to, like, give me just a beer and I'll just watch a football and just like they want everyone worn out. And so Scientology and Hubbard developed these theories and practices that made people better and healthier and stronger. They don't want that. The SPs don't want that. That's why they attack Scientology so much and they give it such a bad name and stuff. They don't want that. They want people, going, oh, I'm worried about my sister and the finance thingo, and oh, I'm worried about this person at work, and like, oh, I have to work so hard at work, and I do back-breaking, bone-breaking work. They want you to earn just enough money to feed yourself and afford to put a roof over your head, but not enough money so that you have free time so that you can educate yourself and get free. They know what they're doing. They're very clever. They basically know the subject of slavery, because at school they teach science and they teach maths. Why couldn't there be a subject that's just called slavery? How to enslave a person? That could be a whole subject in itself, and this is what they'll teach you. They'll go, remember, you have to put chemicals in the water supply that wear them down and dumb them down like fluoride. That's what they would do. All right, so they've been looking down the back of our necks, and we don't know it, for thousands of years. Each of us as a person and as a society as a whole. So that's from that Between Lives implant lecture. And this is back to the guy who wrote the article. Basically, if nothing is done to curb this emerging awareness and rehabilitation of abilities, then one could, from the viewpoint of the oppressor, expect this sector of the universe to eventually be overrun by beings of superior intelligence, ability, and most devastating of all, a willingness to introduce others to the same level of awareness. That would really upset the apple cart and destabilize the status quo in the region. In their eyes, therefore, something needs to be done. The iteration of the dumbing down of the population, I think iteration's like repetition. The infiltration and breakdown of those philosophies, religions, and high-level ethical values would need to be attacked and destroyed. Yeah, so don't think that Christianity, the people are practicing these days, resembles anything to what Jesus was actually talking about back in his day. You know what I mean? Like, he was actually talking about getting free and, like, leaving his body and being spiritual and stuff and being powerful and, like, healing with your mind and shit. Do you get any of that when you go to church and stuff? Like, you get peacefulness, which is nice. You get, like, a feeling of, like, being looked after from above, and there's a greater scheme and that you're not, like, some dirty piece of mess like what the atheists believe. The atheists have the worst religion to believe that there is. Their religion is disgusting. It's so abysmal. Like, it's just funny. It really does remind me of Chris Shelton in his personality. You can get an idea of what he is by what he believes. Like, he believes he's a piece of shit. He believes he's like a piece of dirt that's come out of the ground that's evolved and just nothing, like, nothing magical or mystical or amazing or special. And I tell you what, after looking into him, I agree. He isn't that good. And his girlfriend isn't either, which is funny. Oh, sorry, it's a bit rude. Anyway. It was just funny when I saw his video. I saw his girlfriend, and she suited him so much. She was just like, whoa. I was like, Chris, you are such a perfect example of a 1-1. And you epitomized the tone scale. Like, you were just walking evidence of the tone scale. Like, it's funny, like, of course you would have a girlfriend that looks like that and acts like that and things like that totally suits your tone level. It's really interesting because it's just amazing. People of certain tones choose partners of the same tone. It's really interesting. I'm serious. It happens so much when you learn how to pick the tone scale. You see someone and you're like, wow, look at them. They're married to someone of like the same type of tone as them. Like, it's just, people just gravitate because they've got similar ideas about things. Anyway, it's just funny what atheists think of themselves. So Christianity has good value, but I don't even think they've got the real things. I mean, their church got corrupted the same as the church of Scientology got corrupted, in that it got like taken over and changed and stuff. Like, if you look at how much the church has changed Hubbard's writings, just imagine in 2,000 years' time. You know what I mean? You just have all these people sitting in a room doing their basic books, reading them over and over and over again, not getting spiritually free and wondering, I don't think Scientology is that good. Like I've had to read the basic books for the third time now, and I'm just not going spiritually free. And it's like, hey, the books have been changed. Firstly, Hubbard never said you had to read the basic books all the way through 3 times. And you don't even understand these things that they're talking about because they were like written 2,000 years ago, and you're struggling and stuff. And also, by the way, the church has just deleted the OT levels. Like this is what I'm saying. This is what the SPs will do to Scientology, the church. You know what I mean? Like what they did to Christianity. They just ruined all the really good, hardcore information of it and just kept some to keep people entertained. Anyway, so these SPs have got to attack the religions and the things that are setting people free. Methods of keeping the population subjugated would need to be firmly put in place, like speeding cameras everywhere, monitoring of the internet everywhere, 5G internet. Apparently 5G internet's no good. I'm not that sure about 5G internet, but I know it's slower. I don't know about the whole conspiracy side, but I know it's slower. And if they're going to do things like this Morgellons disease with the chemtrails, and they're going to do things like the vaccines, then yeah, probably. Implanting, this is from Hubbard, implanting was an activity carried out to prevent retribution, revenge, retaliation from executed persons, to dispose of captured armies and block their return home as Thetans, to dispose of excess population, to fit a Thetan for a colonization project, to dissuade, discourage revolutionaries, simply to implant, and many other reasons. The nature and formation of the GPM from 1963. So that's from a different lecture, but it's another little gem that he put into a lecture. Okay. Observation of the current society in which we live gives us an inkling of the methods currently used for this purpose, and some specific areas of society spring to mind here. Philosophy and religion, the fourth dynamic engram, which is all about war, finance, and health. So they've corrupted these areas of society because they're big things. They keep people busy with war. They keep people screwed up with finances. They keep healthcare terrible so that no one's healthy, so that they're busy their whole life maintaining the ball and chain, trying to keep the ball and chain alive and going. Philosophy and religion. The various larger religions in the world have billions of followers who keep the faith. The original philosophies of such religions were high values with ethical and moral systems to live by. Over the years, a tactical effort to undermine each of these has been in operation. When one looks at the history of such groups, one can see altruism, hiding information and replacing it with some dramatization, instigating splinter groups, and in recent times introducing corruption in the higher ranks of the major religions. Ooh, I wonder who that was. He was referring to in that. I wonder what church he was referring to there. And the like he could have been referring to the Church of Scientology, but also the all these pedophile priests in the Catholic Church. It's just like, whoa, there's a lot of them. It's just wild. It's like, what the hell's going on? Why are all these priests a bunch of pedos? Like, it's just interesting, you know. Recently, also inciting extremists who capture the attention of the media and public attention, causing alienation, disruption, and work to drive the general tone level down to fear. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I feel like fear is a big tone level across the board of almost the whole world, because I noticed that a lot of people are fearful and scared to, they're all like, oh, I've got to conform, you know, I can't be different, I can't be funky, I can't like make a weird video on YouTube like Andy Nolch does about aliens, like, I've got to be scared, I've got to be worried about everyone thinks about me, worried, scared, conform, right? Like, because I've sort of come out of this whole fear thing, feeling scared all the time in the past few years, really, and when you come out of fear, you then look back at what you were and you look at other people and you're like, wow, yeah, fear's really controlling all these people. All these people are literally scared a lot of the time and are fearful to step out of line and do anything different, and are scared to public speak, and they're scared to to think differently and act differently. They're just like, just give me the normal fashion clothes, and I'll drive a normal fashion car, and I'll fit in, and like, and I'll have like a normal relationship, and I'm just all about normal, and I'll watch, and I'll play a normal sport, and I'll watch a normal TV show. I want to be normal. I want to be like everyone else. Like that's literally what they're like. And I felt a bit like that when I was a teenager. But I snapped out of it because I just got sick of the brainwashing. I didn't like it. But a lot of people are like that, and a lot of them are controlled like that, and that's why I like Scientologists a lot. I like all spiritual people and conspiracy people because they're funky. But I like Scientologists a lot because they're really not scared to be funky and unusual and to drive like a really unusual car or to wear just a bizarre clothes or just do something really different and out there. Like they're really funky. Like there's this Scio in Melbourne, who had this like gardening shop. It still has it, called Hello, Chris Amari's or whatever. And in his TV commercials for the garden shop, he would just wear a pink tutu, and he'd be like, "Hi, I'm wearing a pink tutu. Come visit Chris. Come buy my plants or whatever in a pink tutu." And it was really funny. They were some of the funniest ads I've ever seen. They were really, really great ads. And they helped make him more like sort of famous almost, and people aware of this garden shop because everyone was like, "Oh, there's ads in that in Melbourne." And he was a Scio, and he see how he like wears this bizarre pink tutu and dances on like on a TV ad. Like other people don't do these sorts of things. Like this is where it's just like the tech, the Scientology tech, encourage you to just say, F the system, F everyone. I'm just doing what I feel like doing, and I don't care what people think. I'm not going to be walking around being scared all the time. And I've walked around being scared all the time, and I've walked around not doing what I want to do, and it's shit. So I'm not going to do it. I did it years ago. It was the worst thing, and the best thing I ever did was starting to do what I want to do and being funky, being different. I don't care if I offend people. I don't care if I hurt other people's feelings, because my feelings are hurt if I don't do what I want to do. You see what I mean? I don't care if I hurt the feelings of some lefties. Well, firstly, a lot of the stuff I'm saying is like good because it's like political and it's trying to educate people and change society and wake people up. But even if it was just my opinion about something that, like a TV show, and it offended some lefty, I don't care, because I'm offended if I close my mouth and do nothing. I'm suppressed and I feel bad, and I live a horrible existence being scared and shy, not coming out of my shell. So I'm going to come out of my shell and be myself, and I don't care, because I feel worse if I don't do that. You know what I mean? It's like either I stay in my shell, you're not offended, but I'm hurt, or I come out of my shell, you're hurt, and I'm feeling better. Well, excuse me, I'm going to go with the one where I feel better. You know what I mean? As opposed to you feeling nothing and me feeling all hurt by me being quiet. I'm not going to be a conformist. I'm going to go out and speak out these sorts of things. You know? And I don't think many people have the ability to catch on to all these things that are going on. This is really personal, this video, by the way. Like I was excellent in high school at economics. Like I could see society and how it worked and how people functioned and all this sort of stuff. That was my thing. I wasn't particularly good at maths, but something like economics I can understand. And this is like religion and philosophy and society. They're like social things. They're like sort of relate to economics. And so I'm particularly talented in this area. That's why I could study all these things for years and years, listening to thousands of things, reading thousands of things, and then come to a conclusion and say, this is what I think is going on. You know what I mean? Like I'm not talking about football. I was shit at football when I played it. I'm not trying to preach people, telling people how to play football, okay? People are talented at different things. I'm talented at this, and that's why I'm speaking about it, and I think I'm worth listening to about it. And it's amazing. So I'll continue with this thing. Whereas man has become, albeit slowly, more aware of his true self activities, to undermine this by creating a culture, first in the Western world, that man is an animal and not a spiritual being, has been carefully cultivated. Absolutely. I mean, you just brainwash. Like, that's what I was like. Maybe things are changing for kids because, like, the internet exists and they can find out the truth now. But when I was growing up, it was just like, before Scientology, I had no idea. I just thought maybe we're like, there's something more going on. Maybe there's a God or something like that. But I was just like, nah, we're a body. I was totally in the whole body way of thinking, the whole messed way of thinking. There's nothing else. This now forms the main culture in the West and is accompanied by the humanization of man through such actions as all men and women are equal and there is no distinction between the two. Justifying, just speaking of that, there's definitely a difference between man and women. Man and woman, they have different talents, they have different abilities, they have different roles in life. And I have nothing wrong with a woman wanting to be a president. And I think they can do it. I'm actually going to be voting for a woman prime minister in Australia, actually. But I do notice that women tend to be better at childbearing and those things as opposed to being prime ministers and CEOs and those sorts of things. They require different skills, and I think that men tend to be better at them. Just the same as I think Italians tend to be more successful in business. Just true. Races are different and sexes are different. They try and brainwash you and tell you that they're not. See, this video relates to so much stuff. That's why I had to make this thing I'm reading. It relates to so much stuff about what's going on Earth. This is like the R factor of Earth. Maybe I'm going to call this video the R factor of Earth. Anyway, so don't get sucked into bullshit that man and women are the same, and don't get sucked into bullshit that all the races are the same. You know? Like, obviously, like, I think, like I was saying, I do think that men would make a better prime minister and stuff, but I wouldn't make a law saying women can't become prime minister, because obviously some can come and be really talented and good people like Pauline Hanson, and they should be prime minister. But I don't like this idea of just this brainwashing of just like unisex bathrooms and just like it's perverted, you know. It's just like you're confusing everyone, you know what I mean? Tell people the truth, you know. There's differences. It helps when you're dealing with a Japanese person, it helps to know what their culture is like and how they behave and how they think, because you can benefit from that. But if you just think that like an African tribesman's the same as a Japanese businessman, they're so different in the way they think, and like you'd just be an idiot if you're trying to deal with them in work or something. You'd just be crappy at dealing with them. But if you know how they behave and act and think, like you sort of stereotype them, but not in the mean way, but you sort of go, they sort of tend to be like this and they tend to be like that. You can deal with them a lot better because you're clever. And it pisses me off, this brainwashing that's going on. Justifying various perversions on the 8 dynamics, reducing all to a common denominator, except those willing to forward this purpose of dumbing down the population. Sorry, I just thought of something. Do you know in 1984 and these communist things, you know men and women are treated very equal in those situations, you know? It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. In like 1950s America that was more freedom and stuff, men and women sort of had fairly different roles and were treated fairly differently. But in 1984, the book, when it's this whole communist system where everyone's brainwashed, you know what it is? You're all a slave and you all wear the same stupid overalls and women act like men and men act like women and you're all one unisex thing. That's what this whole unisex thing is. And I actually think, really deep down, it's actually coming. Part of the acclamation into this new world order of this new alien race or whatever. It's part of making us mold in and fit into them, because they're all like bees in a hive mind, and they all act like 1984 and like mind control things and stuff. So their men and their women act really similar and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I imagine their systems like that. I'm sort of guessing, but you know what I mean? It's just messed up. So justifying various perversions on the 8 dynamics, reducing all to a common denominator, except those willing to forward this purpose of dumbing down the population by prostituting themselves for a one-lifer of money and luxury, giving new meaning to the term selling your soul to the devil for material gain, we're all the same and A equals A equals A equals A. Yeah, they're trying to make A equals A equals A equals A. Man, woman, it's all the same thing. But it's not. Man doesn't equal woman. Aussie doesn't equal American. They're different. They're trying to get you to think all robot, all 1984 slave. You know what I mean? War. War and conflict have existed on this planet for millennia, and it is no accident that not only is war instituted, but that it is also made very much public. The sole justification for war is to impose further subjugation on the inhabitants of this planet, impress more pain, suffering, and death, and keep the population focused on and glorifying death and destruction rather than improving and enhancing life. It keeps everyone super busy. Yeah. War uses up, it talks about this in 1984, war uses up all these resources and keeps people busy and occupied and all that sort of stuff. War on this planet is a perpetual fourth dynamic engram. Well, it's a continual engram that's continually happening. Like, you've got the bullshit Cold War that was going on. The reason why it's bullshit is because apparently with this whole alien issue and these alien underground bases where the governments have been working with aliens, of course, the US have been friends with the Russians and they've all been friends with the aliens and they're all working together behind the scenes in the whole shadow government thing. Yet, publicly, oh, America versus Russia, it's oh, watch out for the Russians, it's all just a load of shit, it's all just a farce, all a joke. And so you got the whole America versus Russia thing that ended in the late 80s. And then what happened? Of course, a new war, the whole America versus the Middle East thing, the whole Iraqi thing started up and all that sort of stuff. They couldn't just go 10 years without having a war or anything. It's just continual engram, continual war, continually finding something to fight with. There is at least one war occurring at any time, usually several. If one dies down, another is promptly instigated to maintain the static state of perpetual war. Sorry, I've just got to say everything in this video. It's going to be epically long, but it's very good to listen to and important. Like, I'll tell you what they do, right? Apparently, Princess Diana was engaged to and was impregnated by some Middle Eastern guy. Right, some prince in the Middle East or whatever. Now, instead of being all nice, and being England's going to royal family's going to be a little bit connected to the Middle Eastern royal family and, it's all going to be nice because we're all friends. Of course, what they do is the bad guys basically, like MI6 or whatever. By the way, MI6 stands for Military Intelligence 6 or whatever. Because it's basically the English version of the CIA, but it stands for military intelligence. But I remember for years, I remember hearing MI. Where the hell did they pull MI from? What the hell does that mean? Anyway, so what they have to do, they didn't want Princess Diana, this loved woman, to be friends with a Arabic guy, and being all good with the Arabs and stuff. Why? Because they wanted to have a war with the Middle East, and they wanted Middle East to be the bad guys. So, of course, what they do, they're like, shit. Before she gets married and before everyone finds out that she's going to have this baby, we've got to assassinate her. So they assassinated Princess Diana. That's how it happened. They killed her. There's a lot of evidence on this conspiracy theory. And on another topic, right, this will blow your mind, right? This is why I'm talking about this whole world isn't what you think it is, and it's so different. It's just amazing, this world. This is why I believe in all these unusual things. I'll tell you one of the things that helped wake me up to what's going on in this world. And maybe want to go and find out about Scientology or just ask questions. The day that Princess Diana died, right, my mum started crying, but she didn't hear about Princess Diana dying. She didn't see the news or anything. The news hadn't hit Australia yet. And she was just sitting there, and it was a Sunday afternoon or something, because it was Sunday afternoon here, but it was the middle of the night in England or France or whatever. So she just started crying. And everyone was like, why the hell are you crying? She's like, I don't know, I just feel really bad or whatever, I'm crying. And she was shocked as well. She was like, why am I crying? When do you ever cry for no reason? She literally cried for no reason. And this was really funny as well. Sorry, she actually didn't, because somehow, psychically or spiritually, she was somehow connected to Princess Diana, and somehow Although she didn't know Princess Diana died, she just started crying. It was like she'd skipped forward track or something and started crying because she was going to do it in a few hours' time anyway when she found out the news because she liked Princess Diana. It's incredible. Why the hell did she cry? There's no reason why she cried. She's never done it before ever again. It was incredible. What the hell's going on there? How the hell did she predict the future like that? Like, well, she didn't even predict the future. Why the hell did she cry? And she's done other things like that before. Like, she one time at her workplace, someone got into a bicycle accident. So that's normal, right? Here's the weird thing. Here's the kicker. She had a dream about that person getting into a bicycle accident a week before. And she doesn't regularly dream about people getting into bicycle accidents or accidents. So I don't know if she dreams a lot, but it's not really normal for that to happen. But then out of all the people in her workplace, all the people in her life, she had this unusual dream, and then exactly a week later, that person actually gets into a life-threatening, I think, bicycle accident. Absolutely incredible. And there's many, many stories like this. Many, many unusual stories that other people report all across the world. All these psychic, unusual things. Reality isn't what we think it is. It's so different. But they don't want you thinking that. They just want you thinking that, you know, you evolved from like some cell, that there's a physical universe, there's nothing spiritual, and you're a freaking slave, and that's it. They won't tell you you're a slave, though. But that's what's amazing, what's going on. So it's just like, so with the Middle Eastern thing and Princess Diana, like, that's what they do. They're like, no, we have to continue everyone being enemies and fighting and stuff, so we're going to have to kill Princess Diana and make them think it was just a drunk driver in a car accident, because we don't want to become friends with the Middle East. Without these SPs, we wouldn't be fighting and we'd just be friends. They don't want that. They want us being slaves and dumbed down and fighting and arguing and hating these people and all this sort of stuff. All right, so prolific use of the third-party principle. Propaganda and other devices are used to maintain a continual state of permanent conflict on the planet. The third-party principle is a Scientology thing that Hubbard talked about, and other people, and this is probably where the Hubbard got the idea from. I think other people know it as well. It's this intelligence idea. It's like this. People who are smart know about it. It's basically, if you've got two people who you want to control or that you don't like, you get them to fight. You get them to fight, and you wear them down. So for years and years, you keep on encouraging them to fight each other, and then you come in and you take them out because they've been worn down by it. It's a very clever way. There's apparently an analogy of that, I think, in a Bond movie with a fish tank or something. Because the guy who wrote the James Bond stuff was a former intelligence operative. And so was Hubbard. That's why they know about all this stuff. They're so much smarter. They've been led into the truth. And this, I think the same as the guy who wrote the book 1984. They've been led into that the world isn't what it really is. And they've found out about things, and they've then gone and done things to try and wake people up to what's going on. Finance. The economics of the planet, once based on trade and barter, has now been engineered to be based on debt. Debt makes it easier to control an individual, group, or company. So this was introduced at an early stage some years ago as part of keeping the population in check. Whole countries are now suffering under the yoke of debt, and a planned campaign is in force to get every country involved, even to the point of using war as an excuse to subjugate a nation and reduce them to a reliance on loans and subsequent debt as a means of control. Yeah, debt's control. They keep you poor, they keep you using their money, and they can control you. Non-production is encouraged and even rewarded, this whole welfare state thing. It literally makes it better for people not to get a job. It encourages people to be dumb and just leak off the welfare system and have useless existence that are unhappy and stuff. Non-production is encouraged and even rewarded. It is. It literally is. You know? Production, I mean, it's just like, hey, just provide shitty housing, right, emergency housing and food for the poor. That's it. You don't need to give them cash. But what do? They give them heaps of cash. They just blow it on drugs or gambling all these unhealthy lifestyles, and they're not going to go and start doing a job because it's only going to be a little bit more than what they're on welfare. So they're going to like, why should I bother? Welfare is way easier, and I don't have to work as much, and I get almost the same amount of money. The reason you work the shitty jobs is because you rise up and you learn from them. That's why. You know what I mean? Don't think that working at Burger King is you're actually doing it for the money. Like, it's so little money, it's just pathetic. But you're doing it to learn and get the experience, and you're basically volunteering. And that's something that I liked as well when I first volunteered for the church. It was good, basically, because it taught me to get something out of my work and to learn from what I'm doing and benefit, and also do it for the sake of wanting to help someone else because you want to do a good product. It taught me good ethics and good morals and stuff. And then you apply it then to actually something that you can make good money off, and then you make a killing and you go real good. Production is penalised, and a general can't have is fostered on the population. Health. A vehicle of control, of course, is health. Whereas man's health was not particularly bad, despite PR to the contrary, health is deteriorating due to the various factors such as overstimulation, abundance of chemicals, changes, people's bodies are overloaded, changes in lifestyle, deterioration of diet, like people are eating 70% more cheese than what they were eating in the 70s. What the hell's the deal with that? People are just like loading up on things and stuff and like drinking Diet Cokes, which is just horrible for them. And then the SPs who make these products had the guts to put diet on it. It's outrageous. Like that's the gall they have, the confidence to say to people, yeah, here, have this Diet Coke. Of course, it's not diet. It's actually more unhealthy. It probably makes you more fat than the sugary ones. Apparently, it's more addictive. It uses fake thing. I just want to talk about fake. Everything's fake, like fake GMO food, like the fake fibers in the cheap clothes that they're making in China. They're all synthetic. Like everything's becoming fake. Anyway. Phasing man over to using chemicals instead of natural products is an additional method of control, and a particularly good one for dumbing down people's awareness. Much has been said about the fight against drugs. In fact, the drug conflict is not about taking drugs or not, but between the producers of street drugs and the producers of pharmaceutical drugs in terms of revenue. Both serve the same purpose. However, they're both just mass drugging people. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's just the pharmaceutical one's a much more professional version. Like, it's more like they put good PR to it. They're like, let's just deal drugs and become drug dealers, but let's just make it appear nice and look good. The dynamics. Careful hypnosis of the dynamics will illustrate examples of perversions on the dynamics, including Dynamic 1. Man is an animal, a piece of meat. He does not have a brain, he is a brain. The implication being that once the body is dead, so is the person. He has no abilities or awareness outside of the physical body. Yeah. And you can't even get outside your physical body. They've made it so you can't and they get you eating all this heavy cheese and all this sort of crap, and get you hooked on the drugs and sort of stuff, so it's harder for you to get out of your body. Dynamic 2. Abortion in the name of women's rights promoted. The abuse of children encouraged. Yeah, it's silly. It's just like, okay, abortion's a tricky issue, but it's just like, women's rights. Yeah, it's really giving women's rights. It's really empowering women to allow them to kill a baby. Like, there's much more things they can do to empower women. A lot of the people who want to empower women, they just want to make women act like men. They make women be like the school principal and be like the CEO of a company and be like the tradesman riding a forklift. That's what they think giving women's rights is. And it's just like, that's not giving women's rights. That's like trying to make women act like men. That's actually making them less of a woman. It's making them into a man. That's how man-dominated we are in society. It's crazy. The abuse of children encouraged, pornography encouraged and rampant, marriage reduced to an afterthought, yet at the same time same-sex marriage encouraged in violation of the purposes of the second dynamic. Dynamic 3. People are encouraged to join groups that do not forward survival for their area, but instead forward the basic purposes of dumbing down the population. Oh, this is really important. I'll read it again. People are encouraged to join groups that do not forward survival. Sorry, I'm starting to get tired. I'm laying it all down in this video. I'm going to finish this. I'm probably going to be another half an hour. This is epic. People are encouraged to join groups that do not forward survival for their area, but instead forward the basic purposes of dumbing down the population. Exactly, the groups, like I said, like a fitness club or something. Like, even though it's good to, I go to the gym only one day a week though, but I don't want anyone going 4 days a week because there's much better things you can be doing, Well, you can go 4 days a week if you're also spending 4 days a week, like, doing all this spiritual stuff and studying as well. You know what I mean? But they get you doing these things that are all a big distraction, They get you disco dancing all the time. Or they get you, like, watching Australian Idol or some crap. Political parties are an example. Groups that promote the first dynamic rather than the third. Groups that promote conflict. Groups that promote elitism and secrecy. There are many others. High value or moral groups are denigrated and low moral groups promoted as being the best groups to participate in. This whole gangster rap culture that was like real popular in the 90s and early 2000s with Eminem and stuff. This whole like, yeah, it's cool to be like a gangster and it's cool to like steal and stuff and like rip people off. And it's like, yeah, man, gangster music, yeah, me and my bitches, yeah. And just like this whole, yeah, take drugs, man, it's cool to deal drugs. Yeah, oh, yeah, it's real cool with my pants low. Like, it's just so, it's a ridiculous lifestyle. It's a joke. It's just a joke of a lifestyle. Like, I was at the gym today and I watched this guy who was like dressed up in clothes, like walk across the street. And I know gangster isn't that much in fashion at the moment, but if he was around in the year 2000, he would have been a proper gangster, like as in his clothes and all that sort of stuff. But he sort of looked a little bit gangsterish now. But he was walking across the street and he was like Mr. Cool, like, and it's so ridiculous. It's just like, man, I feel sorry for that guy. Look at what he's been degraded to. He thinks he's cool doing that. It's just a joke. Wars and conflict encouraged and promoted around the world. An active third-party activity set up and designed to continue war as a method of control, not as a method of enhancing mankind or improving his well-being. PR features well into this as a preparatory step in going to war. One has to portray the intended enemy as bad in order to justify the invasion of their country. The US, for example, has been continually involved in wars over the past 209 years, most of which were invasions of other countries. Other countries have a similar poor record. The motivational scale has duty at the top and money at the bottom. That's really important. That's something that I go by as well. It's more duty and it's not money. As soon as you start selling out, it's one thing the SPs do. They sell out for money. And it never leads to goodness or advancement or feeling good. You're just selling yourself out. It's ridiculous. The only time duty is espoused is when... Hold on. Let's look up espoused. I shouldn't pass that one. Jesus Christ. Espouse, adopt or support. The only time duty is espoused, like adopted, is when it comes to fighting for one's country. Of course. Of course the SPs are then going to be like, no, it's good to have your duty to fight. Go to Iraq. By the way, they talk about fake news, like with the media, fake news and that. What about fake work? Like, is someone who works as a military officer in Iraq or whatever, which is a waste of money, which is actually bad for the people there, and apparently it's also to like protect the heroin fields, literally to protect the poppy field so that they can sell heroin. Like, it's how corrupt things are. That's fake work. It's fake military. You're a fake military person. You know what I mean? There's so much fake. I swear to God, you look into it. There's fake food, there's fake blah, 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 blah. There's fake everything. Fake NASA, fake space exploration. It's just everywhere. All right. Fake government. The government's not doing what a government should really do. Government should just be protecting people's rights, not getting everyone to debt and enslaving people. All right, so this is a prime misdirection, as one is not fighting for one's country, but for those interests who encourage war as a method of curbing a population, keeping their attention trapped and away from the main issues and exerting further control. Yes, keeping people's attention from the main issues. They need some sort of drama, like, oh, something going on in Iraq. Oh, it keeps everyone distracted so they don't report on like a UFO sighting or something like that. It's all a big distraction. Just to let you know, like, for example, you got to watch the JFK film by Oliver Stone. That gives you an idea of how these intelligence operatives work, and an operation, and how 9/11 could have happened. You know what I mean? Like, in that movie, it shows how before the president came in the limousine before he got shot, there was some dude who had a fake epileptic fit, and everyone got distracted by it, and that distracted everyone's attention. That was when the shooters snuck in, because people weren't watching because they were like, oh, there's a crazy public epileptic fit going on, and then they sneak into their positions. See how clever that is? You know what I mean? See how clever that is? These are smart cookies. They plan these things, they're shifty, they're conniving, and they come up with clever things, and then they have the news reports already set and ready, and they release them to the media as soon as the shooting's happening, and then everyone's already started going, oh, it might be Lee Harvey Oswald because we heard this news report, and then a few hours later they go, yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald said he did it, and then they go, then everyone goes, it's Lee Harvey Oswald, and they're conning everyone. It's all just a con. This is why on September 11 they reported on the building 7 falling down before it even fallen down in the news, because they were following a script. The sneaky dudes who were doing it had already given the media this script, and they read it in the wrong order or something, and they read it out before the building actually come down, and they got caught out. But they're shifty, and they're just clever the way they come up with these things. And do you know what they did as well? They plan these things months in advance. So of course, they get a man to go around town who wasn't actually Lee Harvey Oswald, but he looked like Lee Harvey Oswald, and he was saying he was Lee Harvey Oswald, and he was going around town saying, I'm a communist, America's bad, I'm a communist, like a month before. So that then, when the president gets shot, everyone goes, well, he was that guy, that crazy guy who was running around town saying like he was a communist and he hated the American government. See what I mean? When Lee Harvey Oswald didn't do that, but they were preparing the evidence leading up to the crime. And then the American people go, what an outrage, these communists, we hate them, and they shot our president or whatever. Let's go to war with the Russians. You know what I mean? Like, it's all just designed to trick you and con you. They're clever. You have to understand, this is why Scientology is so great, and people who leave the church and work out what happened to the church are so intelligent, because they understand intelligence and how... Because Hubbard wrote it in the OSA documents and stuff, and Hubbard knew intelligence, and it's so... You need to know intelligence, you need to know these shifty things like an agent provocateur or whatever. I'm shit with pronouncing words, aren't I? An agent provocateur, right? Do you know what that is? People do. Alex Jones knows what it is. Intelligence people know what they are, right? It's tech. There's a whole tech to this intelligence crap. You know what I mean? It's basically when you got a crowd of people protesting like something, you go in there, pretend to be part of them, and you do something outrageous, and the whole group gets banned, and you give the whole protest a bad name, and then the police can come in, they can shut down the protest. Voila! No more protesters. You did it. You were the smart-ass dude that went in there and started it all in the first place. Agent provocateur. It's what they do. They don't teach you this tech. They don't want you knowing this tech. They don't want you listening to this video because it's exposing the truth of how they work and operate. Anyway... Gosh, where are we up to? This is epic. I'll just find it. No country has ever been lost due to war, but people have died, been injured or tortured, and billions made from the production of arms. Money is cultivated as the prime motivation these days. More money is spent on war each day than on enhancing man over a period of years. Money doesn't make you happy anyway. If you've got mental problems and you're living a shit life and eating bad food because you've been tricked and all that sort of stuff, you're not going to feel good. Living a poor life, but like doing what you want to do and being smart, that's when you can have happiness. More money is spent on war each day than on enhancing man over a period of years. This also, incidentally, increases the debt of a nation. Yeah, of course, they want to bankrupt the nations. The banks want to bankrupt the nations because they can then get the assets of the nation. It is also an excuse to impose a gradual, limited freedom of the individual by eroding human rights in the name of security. Sorry, I'll read that again. It is also an excuse to impose a gradual, limited freedom of the individual by eroding human rights in the name of security. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, we've got to put in the cameras and everything because of the war. By the way, apparently I was going to get an SP order, I think, from the church, because I haven't officially been ordered from the church yet. But the guy in charge of ethics in the Melbourne church contacted me and wanted to meet up, right? And I was like, oh, this is interesting. What's he going to talk to me about? Like, and then I understand that the church think I'm an SP and stuff, and I'm a bad guy because I'm just speaking the truth and I'm calling the church out for changing Hubbard's writings and stuff. And that's fine, you know what I mean? Like, the church is their own thing. I'm separate. I'm not having anything to do with them, and I'm not attacking them or anything. So I was like, I was just interested in seeing what its ethics officer would say to me. And so we set a time. He called me, and I said, yeah, you can come to my house and meet me there, because I refused to go into the church because I've probably got too many enemies in the church. Anyway, but also because they always ask you to come into the church, and this is something that if anyone's got an independent org, don't do this. They asked people to come into the church to talk about something that they can just do over the phone, but they want to have you in there to press you into like buying a course or something like that. They want to have you in there. And they weren't going to obviously sell me a course, but he was going to talk to me about some ethics thing or give me the SP order or something. But I didn't need to go in, so I was like trying to push him for the whole let's do it over the phone thing, or you come to my house. Anyway, so he agreed to come into my house. All right. Then the next day, it was only the next day, so it's not like there was any time for him to forget. Next day, I was waiting around and he didn't fucking more come. So I call him up and I'm like, where are you? Not here. And he goes, oh yeah, I'm not going to come around. Change my mind or something like that. And I just thought that was really rude. And I know he thinks I'm an SP and he doesn't have any respect for me or whatever. And also he hasn't watched any of my videos and haven't listened to any of my arguments at all. He's just like, okay, Andy Notch has done something, like he's just heard some rumor or whatever, so then he's just classifying me as an SP. But that's fine, you know what I mean? I don't respect his intelligence that much. I don't think he's that smart. He's a typical sort of church worker and they just do what they're told. They're just robots. But he's, you know, a nice person. And I want him to stay in the church. I wasn't going to tell him anything about the church anyway. You know what I mean? Even though he wouldn't have listened to me, I wouldn't have said anything. Because I'm just like, good, stay in the church because I want the church to still be around and I want it to fix up and get better. But I got offended when he just didn't rock up and then didn't call me, because I also texted him half an hour before he was supposed to come. And I said, you know, I live on the house on the corner. So, like, he could have texted me back and said, oh, I'm not coming then, but he didn't. But it really annoyed me, and it reminded me of when I was involved with the church a lot. They would do things like that. Like, you talk to a staff member and they'll say, I'll meet you here, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll be like, oh, sorry, I forgot about that. Or they would say, I'll sell you this book package. And then you go to get the package and they'll say, oh, sorry, you can't get that. And you're like, but you said I could get that 2 days ago. And you're like, oh, sorry, you can't get that deal. And they're just like, because they changed their mind, or they just do little things like that to screw you over. Like they go, come in to talk to us about something. And then you get there and then they're being dodgy and they talk to you about something else. And you're like, oh, great, so you wasted all my time for me coming out there. But they really piss you off. And I felt that pissing off today when this happened. And, like, I understand how people get involved with the church, like Chris Shelton and these Scientology haters, and they just have so many things happen to them that piss them off by the church that they end up just totally getting pissed off and just ranting for ages on the internet, and they can't face the truth about Scientology, how it's actually a good thing, and they just can't handle it. They just think it's all bad because they're just so pissed off. But anyway, gosh, this video's got so much to talk about. I can't believe how long this is going for. Continue. Dynamic 5. Ravaging the planet and the environment with pollution and the removal of vast tracts of forest and other fauna. We are all familiar with the activities in this area. Dynamic 6. The destruction of the forest of Earth also caused the extinction of various animals, the depletion of Earth's oceans of life forms, the disregard for animal welfare, and a lack of duty of care, the abuse of animals by the millions used for meat, and the ongoing torture of animals in the name of a distorted science hell-bent on developing more chemicals to dumb down the population. They got all these chemicals or whatever and crap in the food and preservatives and stuff, and it makes the food essentially fake food, like fake news, fake food. It doesn't actually feed you and it's good for you and nourishing. It makes you unhealthy and it's bad for you to eat. And I know because in Australia, right, we've got these kangaroos and they're organic. They're like free range. They're not these screwed up cows in the farm. They're like corporation run. These are like free range ones, natural ones. And my cat really likes eating that meat, the kangaroo meat. And humans can eat it as well. It's really healthy. I don't really like the taste of it, but it's really healthy, right? But you give them the crap, the cow meat stuff, and the cats don't even eat it because they can tell it's full of preservatives and chemicals and stuff, and they literally won't eat it, or they'll eat it and then they'll vomit after it. I'm not kidding. It's fake food. We are eating fake food. You're eating a burger at McDonald's. It's fake food. It's crap. It's bad for you. It's poisonous. So you've got all these people walking around eating far too much food, eating things with fake sugar in it, fake meat that's like crap for you, and the person's just overwhelmed and destroyed and wrecked. It's no wonder why they can't even think. They literally can't think. They make mistakes in their thinking because they're just poisoned by all this crap. Stop going to commercial places. You have to become this hippie, this spiritual hippie. You have no choice. If you want to go free, you have to become a spiritual hippie. I used to sort of laugh at those vegetarians and stuff who were hippies and stuff with food because I was just like, I don't want to pay the extra money, and I just thought, you don't need to go that far and stuff. But then the more and more I looked into things, I was like, whoa, no. This corporation food is utter crap, and it's actually really poisoning you and ruining you. It's really bad, and it's really wearing you down. It's why you struggle to wake up in the morning. It's why you feel nervous and scared. I'm not kidding. It's why you don't have energy. It's why you're dumb and made mistakes with math questions. It's why you can't pick up on Hillary Clinton being a con woman and tricking people. You know what I mean? Seriously. It all affects and it's all connected. It's why you can't leave your body spiritually. It's amazing. Dynamic 7. The deliberate cultural dismissal of man's true spiritual beingness to be replaced by a culture of mest. The distortion of truth promoted in various religions now as the truth. In many cases, truth is replaced by lies. All end up causing... There's so much lies in the school system, by the way. All end up causing doubt in the minds of anyone that can think, and those that can't, and have been reduced to irresponsibility and robotism and simply accept what they are told. The ideal state of being in the minds of the oppressor. Yeah, when someone's overwhelmed and worn out by all this crap, then they just end up just rocking up to work to get their money and not thinking, just doing what they're told. Dynamic 8. The concept of God is so distorted now throughout the world as to have little or no relevance to man's spiritual beingness. Yeah, people aren't really... Do people really know what God is? People know. I've looked into this heaps more, and I reckon I have much more of an idea of what God is than the average person. But the average person literally has absolutely no idea. Like, it's just a big question mark. And Church of Scientology. Special mention should be made about the Church of Scientology. In view of the devastating effectiveness of the application of technology to bring people to awareness and restore their abilities, the Church has naturally been a prime target in all of this. Infiltration and corruption are the methods to bring an organization or group to the ground, and it is a sure bet that the church has been a high-value prime target since the early days. And remember, infiltration is not necessarily solely of a physical nature. There can also be spiritual infiltration. Okay, I don't fully understand what he means by spiritual infiltration, but that's very interesting. That's very down the rabbit hole. That's like, whoa, the church has been spiritually infiltrated. Maybe he means it in like the spirit, the culture, like the vibe of the place. The spirit, instead of being like positive, it's like controlling spirit. I don't know, but that reminds me of the psychic attacks that I was talking to Scott Gordon about on the podcast, which is really interesting because apparently it exists. You can get psychics to do spiritual attacks or whatever and bring someone down, like black magic and stuff, bring someone down. L. Ron Hubbard and the church have both been the subject of attacks of one sort or another since LRH introduced Dianetics. LRH himself noted this, and there is now historical evidence to substantiate such attacks. Anyone keen to ensure this planet stays the way it is intended is not going to brook any attempts to elevate it uptone. Let's look up brook. Come on, no one knows what brook means. I have an idea. Brook, tolerate. Okay. Anyone keen to ensure this planet stays the way it is intended is not going to brook any attempts to elevate it up the tone and awareness scales and restore people to a state of freedom. See how I cleared the word here there? That's why I think I can study things and actually learn, and Scientologists can study things and actually learn. Because we'll look up words as we're reading it and go, oh, now I get what they're talking about. Whereas they don't teach this at school. And the average person doesn't know about looking up words in the dictionary, so they'll read something with brook in it, and they wouldn't know what it means, and they wouldn't know that they're supposed to look it up, and they'll just keep on reading. They can't really understand it. So I'm saying I've studied heaps of this UFO stuff, heaps of this religion stuff, heaps of this paranormal stuff, all this unusual thing, trying to find out the truth about the world. And not only am I naturally talented in that direction, but I also can read properly because I know to look up these words because of what Scientology taught me. So therefore, my conclusions should be listened to. I know it sounds crazy, but if I'm talking about this whole alien thing, this whole conspiracy thing, it's worth listening to. It's like, it's not a load of crap. Whereas you get someone, right, who doesn't know about this word clearing stuff, doesn't know to look up words in the dictionary, and they'll talk about conspiracy theories, and their theories don't really make sense, and they're not really right. And it's because they're not clearing their words while they're looking things up. Like there was this dude, right, called Spellcasters or something, or made some movie called Spellcasters, where it was talking about Scientology being a conspiracy, and that, like, he was saying it was bad, kind of like Freemasons, saying that Freemasons are bad and these sorts of things. And he connected some dots and said some interesting things, but I was like, man, this guy's not right. Like, he's making conspiracies out of things that aren't conspiracies. Anyway. So it would seem now that despite all the best efforts, the church has been infiltrated with a planned attack designed to bring it to its knees. It has also been the effect of corruption. Hey, speaking of that, right, if anyone's a church member listening, David Miscavige talks about how corrupt things are and how many SPs there are and how the church was attacked and all these sorts of things. But he implies that the church won out and the good guys made it through, right? But us independents sort of saying that, nah, Miscavige, the church did get corrupted and got infiltrated and stuff, and it got taken over. Like, it failed. It couldn't withstand. Anyway. It has also been the effect of corruption in high places designed to foster doubt in its adherents. The emphasis in the church now is not on freeing beings, but on stopping beings from going free. OSA, for example, has moved from protecting the technology to stopping the technology from being used. This is evidenced by the dramatic alter-is of the technology and the focus degenerating from duty down the motivation scale to money and the obsession with mess. And this is from Hubbard. We own a tremendous amount of property. We own a tremendous amount of material and so forth. And it keeps growing, but that's not important. When buildings get important to us, for God's sakes, some of you born revolutionists, will you please blow up central headquarters? If someone had put some high explosives under the Vatican long ago, Catholicism might still be going. Don't get interested in real estate. Don't get interested in the masses of buildings because that's not important. What is important is how much service you can give the world, how much you can get done, how much better you can make this. A bank account never measured the worth of a man. His ability to help measured his worth. And that's it. That's all. A bank account can assist one to help, but where it ceases to do that, it becomes useless. December 1960, The Genus of Scientology. That was from a different lecture. So what can we do? This is a lot to confront, of course, and if one looks at each of these in isolation, one could be forgiven in thinking that each is simply a dramatization of the bank. While this comes into it, a broader assessment of the entire spectrum shows a definite pattern here. So this is an interesting point he's saying. He's basically saying that this whole corruption that's going on in the world could just be because things have gone messed up and our society is messed in the head and needs to get help with therapy because we've just been going along and screwing things up ourselves. And yes, I think definitely naturally we are a corrupted species here on Earth. Like we have problems and that sort of stuff. But if you really look at it, we're way too corrupted and we're way too nutty and we have way too many problems and the bad guys seem to be way too connected and doing things at the same time and it's working together way too much for to say that it's not coming from them. Like it does really seem like the really screwed upness of Earth is coming from these bad guys and it's causing it all. Of course, it is easy to fall into the various traps around and become embroiled in particular aspects of what is going on around one. And an OT, as LRH pointed out, can fail if working alone against organized one-lifers determined to bring him down. The damn skeptics. But an OT has the ability to step back, as it were, and view the existing scene without being a part of it. It is impossible to reduce an ability. About the only things you can do is reduce its exercise or the willingness to exercise it from control and the mechanics of start, change, stop. So it's a little quote there by LH. Of course, the obvious solution is to make more of the population OT. Easier said than done, one might say. But to make an OT is not that difficult and does not really take that long. It can be done in less than a year. The biggest step is to introduce and get a person started on the road to freedom. Once they are on it, it is actually easier. It is rather like inertia. The first movement is the hardest. Absolutely, with everything. Starting a business, starting therapy, starting getting to Scientology, starting to improve your health. Anything. Always the first thing's really hard. And it gets way easier after that. It like goes here, level of hardness, and it goes hardness, and then it goes, from there on, it goes a bit easier and nicer. But the first and the second's huge with anything. It's easier to focus on past events and the effects they have on man and the planet. It is easy to get drawn into particular issues and injustices in the past. However, it is worth keeping in mind the past cannot be changed. Hold on. Maybe it can with the Mandela effect, but the Mandela effect is something I can't even talk about the Mandela. I don't know what is going on with the Mandela effect. That is something off the charts. It is incredible. If you're interested in it, you looked into it, check it out. You'll get hooked on the internet for like 3 days, hearing stuff about the Mandela effect. But all I have to say is the amount of people I've spoken to in Australia who think that America has 52 states is huge. And it's never had 52 states. Apparently. I swear to God. I remember specifically Wikipediaing it like 3 years ago. And looking it up and going and putting it into my head that it's definitely above 50. I would have locked it in at 50 if it said 50, or if it was below 50, I would have locked it in as being just a bit below 50. You know what I mean? Or if it was 50, yeah, it's 50, or just a bit above. And I locked into my head as being above 50. It was locked in. So either 51, 52, or 53. I would have said 52. And that's why when I found out about the Mandela effect, and I was like, what? America doesn't have 52 states? What the hell? And then you ask all these Aussies on the street. I'm not kidding. I've asked them personally on the TV show I hosted. You can watch the video. Check out Mandela Effect Street Quiz in YouTube and type in the kink Mandela Effect Street Quiz. I go up on the people on the street and ask them, I go, how many states do you think the USA has? And they go 52. And I go, no, it's 50. And everyone thinks 52, and everyone's like, what the hell? I remember being told in school it was 52. And like everyone remembers 52. Not only that, it gets deeper. The Mandela Effect's epic, right? The Wizard of Oz, no, what's it called? The mirror, mirror on the wall, the Snow White thing. You ask everyone. They're like, it's the line in the movie is mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the prettiest of them all, or whatever. And on the street we asked, most people are like, yeah, mirror, mirror on the wall. And then you look it up, it's like, no, it's magic mirror on the wall. Suddenly we live in some bizarro world where it's magic mirror on the wall. Suddenly the past has just changed. Suddenly it goes from 52 states to 50 states randomly. And nowhere in history it said it changed from 52 to 50. It just says suddenly it's always been 50. And you check the textbooks, always says 50, but only people's memories remember 52. What the hell is that? I'm telling you, the Mandela effect, if you think this is wild, this is pretty epic. This explains a lot. But the Mandela effect is at a level of incredibleness and bizarreness that you can't even talk about it. You're just like, well, what do I say? The past has actually changed. The past literally changed. I mean, I can't wait till a day when we get a really big Mandela effect happen and suddenly Hitler was like second in charge and Goebbels was in charge of Germany. And everyone would be going, what the hell? We always remember Hitler as being the leader of Germany, not Goebbels. And everyone would be like, what the hell is going on? This is wild. Amazing times we live in. Just check out the Mandela effect. You'll have a lot of fun. All right, this is nearly finished. Okay, so this applies to the church also. A continual focusing on what we already know to be occurring does not as is what is occurring. In fact, it is validating it by keeping it enormous amongst... A continual focusing on what we already know to be occurring does not as is what is occurring. In fact, it is validating it by giving it enormous amounts of attention. Exactly, Chris Shelton. Focus on the positive. Why don't you do a video saying the benefits of GAT2, and how it seems to be an improvement on GAT1? Why don't you do a video like that? Because really, there seems to be good evidence that it was an improvement on the tech. But of course, you're not going to make a video about that. You're just going to harp on about the corruption that was going on in the 90s and the 80s and the early 2000s. The church does seem to be improving. He's perpetuating. He's adding to the corruption of the church. Oh, a bit. Maybe some of the good information cancels it out, but I don't know. The charge relating to the past can be removed, however, to free up an individual, and that is really only where the past needs to be addressed. While an understanding and appreciation of what is occurring is important, the main focus should be on the solution, not the stops. In this case, flying in the face of the fourth dynamic engram, an aberration, and making more people aware and rehabilitating their abilities. In short, driving people up the bridge to OT. See, I just want to mention this awareness thing. That's what Scientology does and other spiritual stuff does. It brings up your awareness so you can, and when you get healthier, you can just pick up on things more around you. As in you just, whereas before it was like you you're full of crap and you're going along and you didn't notice the potholes in the road, right? But when your awareness comes up, you're like, oh, this road's got a lot of potholes. Like, you can notice shit. Like, you're like, oh, that person acts really nutty when you didn't really notice it before. You know, that person acts like an evil person. Oh, I didn't really notice that before. And that person acts really, like, smart. Oh, that's really good. Like, you actually notice and see more stuff in your environment. That's what it is, bringing up the awareness. That's what Hubbard talks about, where you can be aware of more things. And I know there might be people who are listening to this who aren't Scientologists, and they're thinking, what the hell do you mean by awareness? What do you mean raise the awareness? And I'm saying that's exactly what I'm talking about. See, you don't know. There's shit out there that you're not aware of. And you won't know until your awareness comes up. You can't find out. You know what I mean? So I recommend doing Scientology and bringing your awareness up, and you start noticing more shit. And you're like, whoa, this is wild. It's epic. You know what I mean? Anyway, the more people are driven up the bridge to OT, the more difficult it is to keep the planet in subjugation. And from the point of view of the oppressor, there is no answer about how to handle a bunch of OTs determined to bring about awareness for one and all. As LRH has pointed out, this is LRH now, we're not playing some minor game in Scientology. It isn't cute or something to do for lack of something better. The whole agonized future of this planet, every man, woman, and child on it, and your own destiny for the next endless trillions of years depend on what you do here and now in Scientology. This is a deadly serious activity, and if we miss getting out of the trap now, we may never again have another chance. That's from Keeping Scientology Working. See how epic that is? Like, it is kind of true. Like, it is that this Keeping Scientology Working quote of like how serious Scientology is. I kind of think it is, because it's just like, hey, this is really serious. This is like, as in, are you going to go get Morgellons disease, get pumped full of psych drugs, and become like this 1984 robot zombie? Or are you going to go free? And that's why he's saying, he was writing this stuff in the 60s and stuff. He was going, wake up, people. Fight. Start doing something good. Like, let's bloody well get free. Switch on to, like, all this corruption's going on in the government. Start getting healthy. Like, just wake up. Become more spiritually advanced. Like, we're going to get more and more trapped and shit's going to get bad. Don't take this as a joke. Be serious. You know what I mean? And, of course, it went a bit too far in the church, and the shit got really serious in the church. I think Hubbard postulated too well with that, but I think he was trying to wake people up and saying, stop being lazy, because maybe people were too casual. But it really is a serious thing, and it's epic. So the last line of this article, it just says, something we can all participate in. And I think it's referring to making people OT and better and improving people. That's something we can all participate in. Great article. Called The Future of Earth. So, what a video. This was epic. It's wild. It's really hard to talk about these really out there things and stuff like that, because people just think you're crazy when they don't know anything about what I'm talking about. But I know some people do, and they're like, yeah, they can follow along with this video and go, yeah, I know about Mandela effect, and I know about Morgellons disease, and I know about people getting abducted by UFOs, and they're not as blown away by it. But if you don't know anything about this, you're just like, shit, is Andy just completely insane? Is he just like making all this shit up? And I'm not. You know what I mean? Maybe you could argue I'm coming to conclusions too early. Maybe you could argue that. But I'm telling you, some interesting shit's going down here on Earth, and it's unbelievable, and we're in an amazing science fiction movie. Get excited, and stop taking life seriously as well. Like, it's so effing ridiculous. This whole world's so ridiculous, and everything that's going on. We're in a prison. We're in, like, some Truman Show prison that's, like, this joke world that's, like, been set up to hide the truth from us. I can't take anything seriously. And also, because of these bad guys, and they're sort of connected with the CIA and stuff, if you're going to become a freedom fighter, just watch out. Because they're going to come after you, because they don't want you waking people up. So, whatever you do, be clever about it. That's all. So thanks for listening to this video. That's kind of funny, hey? I read out the whole article, yet I was telling you to look it up. Well, maybe if you want to read it again, because I recommend reading things twice as well. That's another point as well. You should always read things twice. I really recommend that. Especially if it's a news article, then just read it once or whatever, or a Facebook post, just read it once. But when you're reading like something like this, or something really good by Hubbard, or something really good spiritual, or some like 1984 book, you really need to read things twice. It's a really good rule to have. And then if you really need to go back to it in like a year's time or 2 years' time, and then read it again, and then you've read it in total 3 times, right? Or you listen to something 3 times, and you really know it, and you've really got a lot out of it. But that's the best way. Anyway, these are sort of things that people don't know when it comes to studying stuff, and they it stops them from being able to understand things and research it. So that's it. That's the end of my R Factor of Earth video. It's epic what's going on. Just work on improving yourself, have fun, and stop eating as much food. Start eating organic, eat vegetables and all that. And don't get addicted to... Sorry, because I've just noticed I had a lot of case change from changing my diet. Sorry, this is another thing as well. People, it's different between when Hubbard was writing this stuff in the 50s. Things are so corrupted these days and screwed up, and food is such crappy quality with the GMOs and the chemicals, and like kids are so brainwashed, and there's like chemicals in the water supply, and just things are such a mess. It's no wonder why Scientology tech isn't working. You know what I mean? Because there are a lot of people who Scientology isn't... There is a lot of evidence to indicate that Scientology isn't really working. You know, people like Chris Shelton who are like, Scientology doesn't work, and like, but it does set people free, and it does work when it's done right. But it's just people have been weighed down and are so PTS from all this crap from the SPs. Things have just gone so out of hand that it's hard to just get the tech to work. You know what I mean? We need to go back to the 50s. So thanks for listening. See ya.